The story kicks off back in the good old days, when humans had electricity. In Chicago, a young Charlie is watching Looney Tunes. Little Danny is playing with an iPad, and their mother Rachel chats on the phone. Suddenly, the father Ben bursts inside, and with a worried look, he informs them that they don't have much time left. Rachel seems to know what he's talking about. Elsewhere, two guys are seen going somewhere via the main highway. One of them is Ben's brother, Miles, and the other one is his friend. Miles receives a call from Ben, who frantically tells him it's all gonna turn off and it will never ever turn back on. Confused, Miles asks his brother to explain calmly, but just then, his phone gets switched off. At the same time, his friend's smartphone also blanks out automatically. On the other hand, as lights begin to flicker, Ben checks his laptop, which says downloading files. Just in time, it hits 100%, after which he pulls a USB plug from the laptop and slips it into a metallic triangular locket-like thing. On the highway, Miles and his friend step off of their stalled car to witness a stream of headlights flickering off, one car at a time. Planes start crashing here and there, transformers explode and catch fire, and even the iconic Willis Tower goes pitch black. We are then shown an aerial view of the globe, which shows that lights are going out everywhere. It starts in the northeast corner of the US and spreads west and southward. The world is falling into chaos. Guess it's time to bust out the old playing cards and books by candlelight, a fate which Gen Z views as worse than death. Then we hear a narration which informs us that 15 years have passed since that fateful day. After the blackout, nothing worked. All electronic items were rendered useless. And not only that, car engines, jet turbines, and even small batteries became defunct. This created a chain of events that caused mass casualties. Sickness without medicine, fires without fire trucks, food without factories. Soon governments fell, and militias started rising. After the blackout, the United States was divided into 6 parts: the Monroe Republic, the Georgia Federation, the Plains Nation, Texas, the California Commonwealth, and the Wasteland. Due to the terrorizing state of the cities, most people have left for other safer places. Ben and his family are among those, as they have relocated to the countryside. It is a peaceful colony in the Monroe Republic, where a few hundred people have settled. It is revealed that Ben's wife Rachel passed away a few years ago, and now he is dating a British medical doctor named Maggie. The children, Danny and Charlie, are also grown up now, but Danny is vulnerable to being alone as he has severe asthma. One day, as Charlie is out in the forest with her brother, she finds an abandoned RV. Curious, she gets inside and finds a mini fridge that reminds her of something. Minutes after the blackout, her parents let her eat all the ice cream that was melting, because that would be the last ice cream she ever had. A few days later, as Charlie is out on one of her usual expeditions in the forest, the main military force of the Monroe Republic, the Monroe Militia, barges into the colony. The militia have the Monroe Republic symbol branded on their wrist to identify them as simps for Maryland. As members. As this settlement is located in the Monroe Republic, the residents have an obligation to give up their crops as a form of tax. However, Ben knows that this is more than just a tax issue. Realizing that something bad is about to happen, he approaches his good friend Aaron and hands him the locket, which contains the USB that we saw earlier. He tells him to keep the locket safe, no matter what. Then, the captain of the militia group, Major Tom Neville, asks for Ben to come with them. He also inquires about his brother Miles, but Ben replies that they haven't met in 15 years. As everyone watches in fear, the militia prepares to leave, but just then, Danny points a crossbow at them, threatening them to let his father go. Ben tries to calm the situation down, but to no avail. Unfortunately, he is the first one to be shot, and because of this, Danny takes down an enemy. Soon, the villagers also start attacking the militia, but they are of no match. After several people are killed, Tom and his army finally leave, but not before taking Danny with them as a hostage. A while later, Charlie finally arrives and finds her father lying in a pool of blood. With his last breaths, he informs her that Danny has been kidnapped by the militia, and now, their only hope to retrieve him is Miles, who is living in Chicago. Charlie pleads with him to hang on, but Ben tells her to find Uncle Miles before passing away. Expectedly, Charlie is devastated by the incident, but she has no time to grieve. She packs her belongings and gets ready to head out alone, but a concerned Maggie and Aaron also decide to join her, much to Charlie's dismay. The trio travels the entire day through dangerous terrain and forms a close bond with each other. The next morning, when Charlie heads to a nearby waterfall to fetch some water, she comes across a dangerous-looking man named Nate. Since the world is plunged into total anarchy after the blackout, every new individual is deemed to be a threat, even more so for a girl like Charlie. Know what I'm saying? But luckily for her, Nate simply asks her name and then lets her go. go. That evening, Charlie and her group find an abandoned plane and decide to sleep inside. But unfortunately, it turns out to be the hideout of a group of scavengers. The thugs hold the three at knife point, and one of them takes Charlie away. Realizing the danger, Maggie cleverly makes the other thugs drink some whiskey, which she had poisoned earlier, and as soon as they do, they choke to death. On the other hand, the final thug tries to have his way with Charlie, but just then, Nate arrives in the nick of time and saves her. The next morning, he accompanies the group. As it turns out that he is also heading to Chicago. Maggie is skeptical about the new member in the squad, and warns Charlie that they shouldn't trust anyone, but the latter reminds her that not everyone is bad. Elsewhere, as Major Tom and his army are resting, Danny manages to free himself from his shackles and flees. He runs the whole night and gets far away from the militia, but eventually collapses near a house due to an asthma attack. A few hours later, he wakes up inside the house and finds a lady pointing her rifle at him. She introduces herself as Grace and inquires how he ended up here. Danny responds that he was kidnapped, and hearing this, the woman finally lowers her guard. She also hands him an inhaler, mentioning that it belonged to her late son. Elsewhere, the group finally reaches the city of Chicago, which is also located in Monroe Republic. It's a sight to behold. Wrigley Field is covered in ivy plants. Streets are filled with fish vendors, and the Volkswagen Beetle cars turned into horse buggies. Following the information given by Ben, they reach a hotel and ask the bartender about a certain Miles Matheson. At first, the bartender denies knowing anyone by that name, but when Charlie mentions that her father has recently died, he speaks up. He reveals that he himself is Miles, but he has been keeping his identity a secret due to security reasons. He's literally the first person they talked to, so he's not doing a great job of hiding. Shortly after, Miles takes his niece inside and talks to her privately. Charlie tells him everything about how the militia killed her father and kidnapped Danny. She then inquires about why they are after her family, to which Miles responds that Ben knew something about the Blackout. The leader of the Monroe Republic, General Monroe, is a cruel dictator who wants to take control over the entire country and eventually the world. But for that, he needed weapons like tanks, fighter planes, and even nuclear bombs. And since Ben was the only guy who knew about the Blackout's cause, Monroe believed that he could reverse it. Hearing all this, Charlie becomes even more concerned about her brother and asks her uncle to help her, but surprisingly, he refuses. He claims that the mission is too risky and it's not worth fighting for. Distraught, Charlie heads back to her group and prepares to leave. Seeing her upset, an overprotective Nate confronts Miles and almost gets into a fight, but instead gets his identity exposed from his wrist. It turns out that Nate is also a member of the Monroe militia, and he was following Charlie and the group just so he could get to Miles. Everyone is stunned by the revelation, but before they can take action, Nate runs away. Despite his location being compromised, Miles still refuses to leave his hideout. He asserts that he will face the militia alone if he has to. Charlie and the group offer to help him, but Miles shouts at them, forcing them to leave. In no time, a large army of militia, including Nate, arrives and starts fighting with Miles. But despite being outnumbered, he uses his incredible sword skills and agility to kill the enemies one by one. Soon, Charlie and the gang also return and join the fight, making it slightly more even. Amidst the chaos, a member of the militia tries to kill Charlie, but surprisingly, Nate knocks him out before running away. After a while, Miles kills the captain of the militia group and eventually ends the fight. He then agrees to join Charlie and the others to find Danny, making everyone excited. Following this, Miles has a flashback about the night of the Blackout. After the whole world goes dark, he gets out of his car along with his friend. They then return to their Marine Corps base, revealing that the two of them are Marines. There, a flash of the friend's tattoo, an M in the same style as the militia's symbol, reveals that Miles's friend is none other than Sebastian Monroe, the current leader of the Monroe Republic. Elsewhere, Major Tom and his men follow Danny's footprints and arrive outside Grace's house. Initially, the kind woman tries to save the boy, but when Major Tom threatens to kill her, she steps